Alright, real quick, I'm going to go over my inputs for Hovercar. We'll go into Time Trials on Ancient Lake here just to show off some of the mechanics. At the beginning of the race like this, everyone always gets the blue, so I'll hop here. And you're off. One of the things you'll notice right away too is that I'm not just steering left and right in the Hovercar like this, I'm pushing forward and left and right. And the reason everyone does it like that is because it gives you a little bit more finesse over the Hovercar for starters. But it also keeps you grounded for longer. If you ever hit like a bump in the road, your Hovercar is going to leave the ground. And if you ever leave the ground in Hovercar, you are automatically already kind of losing speed. Unless you have previously left a boost. Like if I'm just on flat ground here and I run into like a little bump like on the side of this here, if I leave the ground, I'm losing speed. So pushing down is going to steer your vehicle into the ground automatically at all times. And notice the difference when I'm holding just left and right. My steering is a lot more exaggerated, and it's actually a lot harder to control. If you're pushing up and left and right, you have a little bit more time to kind of think about your inputs and think about the way you're steering the hover car, and that's really handy. When it comes to snaking, it's important to remember this is not a game of mashing. It's not a game of like who can hit the A button the fastest. There's a rhythm to snaking, and it changes depending on how fast you're going. If I come out of a boost like this, shaking the car back and forth like that is probably what you want to do. A lot of the time, that will keep your boost going for longer. If I go through this boost, like I just did, while shaking it, I make it a lot farther than I would if I just keep doing that normal rhythm that I was using going into the boost. It's not always entirely noticeable. On some tracks, it's much more so than others. I think it helps when you're going uphill as well if you're turning faster, if you're turning more constantly. But I'm sure it's one of those things that's different between every player. You'll also notice at the end of these boosts, I'm hopping, and that gives you a little bit of an extension. A-tapping in hover is really interesting as well because it's not like car. Again, it's something that has much more of a rhythm to it, I think, than car does. Car really is more like just like mashing. But you'll notice in hover car, you have to hold the A button down for a moment in order to get back up to top speed. You can't start tapping A unless you're at top speed. So let's look at that with the speedometer on. You have to get back up to that speed before you can keep going like that. And it gets a little, it takes some time to get used to, but if I just start tapping A out of a boost, you'll see how quickly I start to lose speed. So you really slow down in comparison to holding A for just a moment. It's like a half a second to a second. Something else you'll notice, and this is pretty important too, just holding the A button is still a decent speed. You're not going terribly fast, but it's not bad. If I hold the A button and then start tapping it at a reasonable speed, A-tapping works. It is a real thing in this vehicle. A lot of people have a hard time with it, but they don't experiment with it in this way right away. So let's do that while holding the R button. Now the R button's great. The R button allows us to steer the vehicle a lot better. So if I hold R and I start driving, you can see it's already at 60. If I let go, it goes up. So holding R and just holding A is actually much slower than just holding A. If I start to tap it, we can still get a little bit out of it, but really not a lot, especially compared to actually just using the A button. But if I'm driving and I'm snaking like this while tapping A, it doesn't do a whole lot. We're kind of where we were already with the A button. Let's hold R and snake. We're already up towards 90 while holding R and snaking. So we have a little bit more finesse over how we're steering, and we're getting a ton of speed by doing it this way. If you ever need to experiment with how speed works in hovercar exactly, in terms of snaking, just try this for yourself. Go straight, hold the R button, do whatever you want to do, and then turn. Look at that. Look at how much speed you get from turning. It's crazy. It makes a huge difference. especially when you start to snake back and forth, you're gaining so much speed. Let's put all these little techniques together. Let's do a whole Ancient Lake with all these strategies. So this is why people say it really kills your thumb. Pushing up on the joystick like that, while going back and forth consistently, tapping the A button, hopping, and even turning, I'll explain that as well. Turning really, all these little mechanics that come together, it takes a lot of practice. It hurts. You will damage your thumb and probably your arm as well. So just be careful, make sure to take breaks and stuff. So really quick, I have Teeny Weenies turned off, but we're going to go into Balloon Race Pirate Lagoon. This is a great example of how important turning is in Hovercar. This track, there's really no snaking in this track. There's here a little bit here at the beginning, but this first turn right here, this one, this big U that you have to do at the beginning of this race, this is a really important turn, and I don't touch the A button at all during it. The only two buttons I'm touching are R and B. That's it. So if I do this one more time, go through here, you'll see I'm just tapping the R and B buttons to try and redirect myself. The reason I'm tapping R is because when you press R, you hop. And if I hop in the water, it's faster to redirect myself. I leave the ground for a second. I don't know if that's necessarily the perfect way to do it. Maybe you should just hold R and hit B a whole bunch, but that's how I do it, and it really works well for me. We'll do that one more time. So I'm trying to redirect myself. As soon as I know I've cleared the corner, I'm going to use that blue balloon. I'm going to do another B tap to redirect myself down the tunnel. I'm going to hop and hit B to get around these corners. And then I'm going to press B a couple times in there just to redirect myself. So on a lot of tracks, just pressing the B button once or twice is enough to redirect yourself in the right direction and keep yourself going down the right trajectory, that kind of stuff. So one full lap uninterrupted. You can see like how easy it is to mess this turn up.
No, wrong way.
Eighth place, cool.